So welcome everyone. Welcome to this session with the beautiful Pamela Alexander. Welcome also to those who are watching the recording if you are joining at a later time. Pamela is an adorable and wonderful friend of mine, and she has made it her mission to ease stress. She's trying to help people find a much easier way to live. She teaches mindfulness based work through medicine and wellness, based on mind-body wellness. She's giving interventions, trainings, retreats, and courses. Pam studied at University of California at Berkeley, and where she got her MBSR in teaching. You got your MBA at University of Massachusetts in their Medical School Center for Mindfulness and Collaboration, in collaboration with Brown University School of Public Health. So we've got the theory, and today we're going to work on the practice with Pamela. Did I include everything, Pam?
You covered more than enough.
More than you were expecting.
Exactly.
All right, so everyone relax, and I will hand you over to the very, very dear Pamela Alexander.
So thank you everyone for coming. Today I'm going to talk a bit about stress reactivity and autopilot. And to really drive home the message, we're going to do practices so that you can really experience both the mind-body connection and a way out, if you will, through mindfulness meditation. So to begin our session together, let's do the befriending practice. So let's take a moment, settling in our seats, finding a comfortable position, sitting upright, relaxing the shoulders, but not rigid. Embodying your own innate dignity. You can close your eyes or soften your gaze or lower your gaze. And I invite you to check in with yourself. What sensations are most vivid in the body? Pulsing, tingling, itching. Perhaps you don't notice any particular sensations at all. What moods are here? Curiosity, restlessness, wonder. What thoughts are here? Perhaps you're thinking about what we are doing in the moment, what you're experiencing or you aren't experiencing. Critiquing, analyzing, planning. There's no need to make anything happen or to control your thoughts. We're simply noticing what's already here. Just noticing. And now I invite you to inhale deeply and exhale fully. And letting your breath return to its own natural rhythm. Let's begin our discussion of autopilot. So I'm actually going to begin with stress response. It's also known as fight flight, and it's your body's natural reaction to danger. The response is automatic, and it's a reaction to a perceived threat, like an oncoming car or a growling dog. And the response instantly causes physiological changes in the body. And these changes allow you to act quickly so that you can protect yourself. And that's the sole purpose of stress response. It's a survival instinct that our ancient ancestors developed thousands of years ago in the wild. And in that situation, the better her response to switching and being able to react when threats occurred, the greater likelihood of her survival. And so these genes were reinforced and passed along to us through thousands of years of natural selection. And the problem is, as Bess touched on in her presentation about cognitive bias, is we aren't being chased by saber-toothed tigers anymore, but our ancient genetic makeup remains with us. So what happens in the body when we feel stress? During the fight flight response, our heart beats faster, our breathing speeds up, our pupils dilate, our hearing perks up, becomes sharper. Um, the blood in our bodies thickens so that it can prepare for injury, excuse me. It The blood also moves from our hands and our feet and our heads to our large muscle groups in our arms and our legs so that we can fight or flee. And our perception of pain decreases. So these are all the kinds of things that automatically happen in a blink of the eye the moment that we perceive something as dangerous. So the important component about flight fright is that the trigger is how we perceive certain things. So when we face what we perceive as a threat, the brain thinks we're in danger and automatically reacts with flight response just to keep us safe. And the stress response is automatic based on what we perceive as being dangerous. And since it's based on our perception, the trigger can be unique to each of us. So if you're afraid of a dog, if you see dogs walking down the street, your body's automatically going to move into this stress response. I trip over fight, this stress response. Or if you were in a car accident and you heard car horns honking, that might trigger your stress response because to you, that represents something that's dangerous. So, what does it all mean? There's a place in our lives for stress reactivity. It is what protects us from oncoming cars. That's not a moment when we want to think about, well, that car is coming toward me really quickly. Should I, move, or do you think they're going to stop me? It's in our best interest to just pretty much just jump out of the way and be safe. But when stress response is left unchecked for all the reasons that I listed a few minutes ago, it taxes the body. We have low energy, headaches, upset stomach, aches and pains in the muscles, chest pains, insomnia, and it weakens our immune system. And when our bodies are taxed like this and tired, that translates into defensiveness, lack of motivation, difficulty concentrating, reduced productivity, interpersonal conflict. So in mindfulness, you learn by your own felt experience, not from the science or not because I said so, how to recognize when all of these things are happening in the body. So before we go on, let's do a short exercise that really illustrates this point. Any questions so far?
Nothing coming up yet. Nothing yet.
Okay, just checking, just checking. So, um, again, sit comfortably, breathe deeply, relax your shoulders, sitting upright but not rigid. When you're ready, close your eyes or lower your gaze. And I'd like you to imagine that you're standing in your kitchen, or perhaps the kitchen of someone you know. Choose a kitchen that you're familiar with, that you associate with pleasant moments. And as you see various kitchens in your mind's eye, settle on one. Now, imagine you're standing in the doorway of this kitchen. Glance around, noticing the walls, the cabinets, the countertop, the floor. Picture the appliances in the kitchen, the refrigerator, the stove, oven, dishwasher. Perhaps there's pleasant smells in the kitchen, maybe cooking or baking. Now bring your gaze to the countertop and notice a wooden cutting board. And on top of the cutting board sits a bright yellow lemon. Notice how bright, vibrant the color is. Notice the size and the shape. Now reach up and pick up the lemon. Notice it, how it feels in the touch. Noticing how the skin is both smooth and slightly bumpy. And next to the cutting board, you see a sharp knife. So returning the lemon back to the cutting board, pick up the knife and then pick up the lemon with your other hand. Set the lemon down on the cutting board and cut the lemon open. And as you do this, notice the feeling of the knife in the hand cutting through the fruit, how some of the juice sprays in the air, how the lemon falls open, revealing the pulp inside. Perhaps noticing seeds, the drop of lemon juice spilling onto the cutting board. Now take half of the lemon and cut it in half. Putting down the knife, bring the lemon quarter to your nose and smell the lemon. What do you notice? How does it smell? Now touch the lemon to your lips, noticing the sensations. Now open your mouth and bite the lemon. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So now again, I turn to the group. What did you notice?
My mouth started
Did
watering
you know?
as soon as we picked it up. Jose
Excellent.
noticed everything. Uh-oh, he's cut herself.
Uh-oh. The
The lemon
lemon.
skin, yeah.
So the reason I like to do this exercise is because it really illustrates the power of the mind and how what we think actually triggers physical responses in the body. So we were just thinking, and as many times as I, lead this exercise, my mouth waters every single time. It's an automatic response in the body to our thoughts.
Faye said
So
that things on her lips were dry, so it was stinging on her lips.
this is it. Our body responds to what we're thinking.
Two people were
And
afraid to cut themselves with a knife.
exactly. So if they were free, and again, when I was talking about stress response, if you cut yourself with a knife once, just the thought of picking up this knife will trigger responses in your body. And so, and often we because of the power of the mind, we are affected by low grade stress
All the
all the time. And and it builds over time, and it affects our health. And this is why we have these problems with weight and obesity and high blood pressure. These are all responses to what's happening in our minds. So you can't control the body's response in general, and you can't control the stress response in particular. It's a built-in defense mechanism that enables us to protect ourselves. But the key thing is from perceived threat. So the good news is that we can interrupt the triggers through our awareness. But before I talk about that, let's briefly talk about autopilot. So autopilot, we operate on autopilot a large portion of the time. It's an efficiency move on the part of our body used so that we can focus our attention on more complex tasks. So when you're on autopilot, your mind references similar past experiences that you've experienced over and over again to solve problems. And there's the general assumption that what is happening now is exactly the way it was in the past. So autopilot is great. You're shifting gears so that in the car, so that your mind can focus the attention on working out, navigating unexpected traffic. It's a great skill. The problem is that this amazing problem solving process that gives us so much benefit in so many areas of our life can cause us pain and suffering when applied to emotional experiences. Because once again, it's referring back. So if you are in a good mood, it's fine because you'll remember, oh, this was just like the time when we were here. And the good moments are better, but the bad moments are also worse because then you'll start ruminating on the last time this thing went bad, the last time. And that can start this like emotional funnel that can lead all the way to depression. And this is where mindfulness can help. In every shift, in every self worth journey, in every area of our life, whether we're in the shift between assessing and asserting or being interested and being interested, being interesting and being interested, we can break this trigger, if you will, by paying attention to the present moment. So, what is mindfulness? Mindfulness, the is the definition that I often like to use is paying attention, to the present moment as it is without judgment. And in this way, mindfulness, there's no need to quiet the brain. We're not trying to stop thinking when we practice mindfulness. In fact, again, we're befriending what's already here. So, mindfulness meditation is, in a way, a mental training practice that teaches us to slow down our racing thoughts, to become attuned to the operating of the mind and body, and to be present for what's actually happening right now, interrupting interrupting our perception of what's dangerous and not, interrupting autopilot, which helps us not arrive at the moment of the stress response. So while we can't and don't want to suppress our response or autopilot, by practicing mindfulness, we're able to be aware of our perception, thoughts, and moods. So, Claudia on Monday talked about through mindfulness, we can befriend what we're experiencing, both the wanted and the unwanted. And this information to helps us decide how we want to respond rather than spiraling out of control emotionally or reacting in autopilot.
Yeah. Daga asked Pamela, is it possible to be mindful when you're in a rush?
Absolutely. Because once again, it's not a matter of, um, it may be appropriate to be in a rush. The idea is to just to be aware. If you're late and you have an appropriate, an important meeting, maybe the right thing is to be in a rush. Your wife is pregnant and you're trying to get to the hospital. The appropriate thing is to be in a rush. But the idea is to be aware of what you're doing and not just, because the thing about stress response, again, the blood leaves our head, our hands, and our feet. We're not thinking clearly. So the idea, if you're in a rush, is to be aware you're in a rush. You've already broken that automatic response, and you're very much aware of what you're doing. I need to get there. I am in a rush. I know that I'm in a rush. And that's what keeps you from or ground you in the present. So there's no right or wrong. It's not, but it gives you the ability to decide. It gives you back authority over your life. How do I want to respond in this moment rather than reacting? Just
So the rush isn't the same rush either. The rush to the hospital to have a baby won't be the same rush as rushing into a meeting.
exactly. And it'll let you decide what's appropriate for you in the moment. So then you gain back control. Um, so it's in our best interest to learn how the body works, because I mean that's a good example. I think when I first started giving presentations on Zoom, I remember, I'm taking my deep breaths, I'm being with my experience, and I actually had a moment where I realized, I was like, oh my God, my hands are cold. My feet are cold. It was just like I was able, even as I was speaking, because even when we're doing our meditative practices, you're focusing on the breath, but your mind doesn't stop. You'll notice your heart beating, you notice these different things that are happening in your body. And that practice doesn't just stop when you're off the mat. When you practice on the mat, when you start living your life over time, you start noticing your ability to have an open awareness, if you will, in all kinds of different situations. So, for if using my example, I was able to um, recognize stress response happening while I was giving this presentation. Did it go away? No. In fact, it takes 20 or 30 minutes for once a stress response is triggered to stop. But that awareness allows, gives us authority back to kind of like breathe deeply, relax into it, and carry on.
We have a question, Pamela, about panic response from someone who suffers from agoraphobia, someone who's afraid to be out in the marketplace or out in the street. What would be your advice in that situation?
Well, there are in the mindfulness practice, you ease into it. If you're afraid of spiders, maybe you get a little closer, but you back off too. You might, because that's the awareness too, is giving yourself the opportunity to say, okay, I'll look at it, but maybe it's just overwhelming for me to like really delve into a crowd. And so you ease into it, and this like backing in, and there's a gentleness, recognizing, because see, you've already started being mindful when you recognize that I'm afraid of this. When you start recognizing, then you can kind of like start having a dialogue with yourself. Okay, I'm getting close to this crowd. Let me do this befriending meditation again. How am I feeling? Okay, and then decide, can I go a little bit closer, or do I need to back off? There's a gentleness and kindness that we use in this. And then over time, I've heard of people who've kind of like been able to get over fears, find creative solutions to deal with it, because maybe it never totally goes away, but there is a way for you to um, get familiar enough with it when you're like, oh, here's my thing. Let me veer to the left so that it's not disrupting your life. And again, you're deciding how you want to um, engage with this particular part of who you are. Does that answer the question?
Looks like yes. You got to thank you.
Okay, okay. Very good. So let's see. Um, so we meditate. So we meditate, exploring our experience with curiosity, whether that's fear of a crowd or spiders or dogs. We or wonderful moments, so that when we're with people that we love, that we are really present with them and enjoying it, and we become more intimate with ourselves, our habits, our physical responses, and we get to know our own unique way of interacting with the world. So let me look at the time. Okay, I'm good. um,
You're good. You have half an hour. Well, you have 20 minutes.
so let's do a short mindful meditation practice, shall we?
Great idea.
So again, finding that comfortable seated position, sitting upright but relaxed. Again, closing your eyes or softly lowering your gaze, releasing your shoulders, softening your belly, relaxing into relaxing your legs. I invite you to focus your attention on the breath, noticing where you feel it most. Perhaps you Feel it as the air enters and exits the nose. Maybe you notice the breath most in the chest as it rises and falls with each inhale and exhale. Maybe you notice the breath most in the belly or the back with the expansion and the contraction. So, wherever you feel the breath most, the invitation is to just notice, settling in, breathing. And as you sit here, watching and noticing the breath, notice how the mind might also be at play. Thoughts coming and going, perhaps emotions rising up and catching your attention. And if we let them just be, noticing their comings and going, we begin to notice how they dissipate and fade away. Maybe one thought leaves and another takes its place. Noticing how, while our focus of attention is on the breath, we can also be aware of the thoughts, emotions, sensations in the body. And then another thought arises. And realizing that the moments that you recognize that a thought has arisen and your focus is no longer on the breath is a moment when you're being present. When you're being present with what is. And then when you notice that a thought has arisen, if you like, you can return your attention back to the breath. Or you can notice the moment when the thought fades by itself. Notice the space between thoughts. All the while just sitting here, breathing, recognizing that there's nothing to do and nowhere to go. And now, when you recognize the thoughts, thinking, analyzing, critiquing, or even daydreaming, watch it as if you are watching it from a distance. Notice how there's a part of you that's thinking, but also there's a part of you that's watching, witnessing, noticing the thought. You are not your thoughts. There's a separation between your thoughts and you, the thinker, the witness. And as you sit noticing the breath and thoughts, I invite you to see if you can look at thoughts like clouds in the sky, moving, changing, coming and going. They take shape, they last for a while, and then they fade away. Some thoughts are light and wispy, others are dark and threatening. Some are heavy, creating storms. But each of these clouds, every thought, every emotion, all this activity in the mind, they come, they rise up, they grab your attention, and then they fade away. It's just a dance across the sky. The mind is like the sky, and thoughts and emotions are like clouds. The sky sometimes are obscured by the clouds, but the sky, like your mind, is always present, always there, spacious, clear, infinite. The clouds are just weather, they come and go. And as you turn inward toward the sky, remember this is who you are. You're not the clouds, not the weather, you're not the rain or the storm, you're not the emotion. You are the witness, the watcher. You are the container of it all. And you have the ability to be spacious with no matter what arises. You are vast and steady. So, again, the invitation is to just notice what's most vivid for you in this moment. Perhaps it's the breath, perhaps it's sound, physical sensations in the body, or emotions. The invitation is to just notice what's most vivid for you right now in this moment without judgment, becoming familiar with what is in this moment. And as we prepare to end this practice, I invite you to check in again with yourself in the same way as we did at the beginning of this presentation with the befriending practice. What thoughts are here now? What moods are here? What sensations do you notice in the body? And there's no right answer or wrong answer. We're just noticing what's present in this moment. And when you're ready, again, checking in with yourself. What does your body call for right now? Maybe you need to stretch a little bit, return your head from side to side. Perhaps you want to sit here a few more moments. What is most appropriate for you in this moment? And when you're ready, if you haven't already, feel free to open your eyes. So, what did you notice?
Anita says that was precious. So she really needed it. And I can second that emotion.
Excellent, excellent. But again, this is something that's available to you all the time, even if it's just for a moment, at your desk. Um, just taking a moment, checking in with yourself.
When you asked what we were focusing on, I have to say, I was really focusing on your voice, and a lot of other people are saying the same thing. It's so peaceful and so uplifting.
Thank you. I'm glad. Excellent. Excellent. So there you go. Questions. The floor is yours.
We've got several people saying amen. I have so much accumulated stress. I started the first meditation and breaths by still noticing spasms. Now I'm fully relaxed. Your charisma and voice is mind blowing. Wow. Nice. Lots of
Well, you did the work. I mean, I lead the practice, but these are our natural abilities. So our ability to relax, because we have what is it? What is it? The synthetic and parasympathetic. So we're built to be reactive and to be at ease.
yeah.
So we're just tapping into what your natural innate ability. So I can't take credit for I can't take credit.
As if. No, but it really, I think for this week, especially for many of us, it's been quite a lot of accumulation. So it's been really, really wonderful to just chill out with you.
Excellent, excellent. I'm so glad to have been here.
Faye says she'll be doing this again. She'll be going back for the recording to do it again.
Excellent, excellent.
Lovely.
And then yeah. So I didn't Is there, I didn't provide any particular meditations. Is there a way that I can do that?
Yes, you can
I've recorded meditations that I'd love to
send me
share.
the links, and we'll put them in the content folder for you on Self-Worth Week. And of course, everyone is welcome to go to Pamela's website, which I will put in the chat box. I'm just put in the chat box the, hang on a moment, the link for the next session. Hold on a minute. Boom.
And on my website, if you sign up,
Okay.
the gift is like a half dozen or so meditations, different lengths, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, so that you can use it whenever you need it or whenever you have the time. So
Pamela, is it Pamela Alexander or P. Alexander?
my website,
Yeah.
PamelaJAlexander.com.
That's it. I knew something was missing. Okay.
PamelaJAlexander.com.
There it is.
So head on over. Send me a message if there's something that you like, questions that you have, you can always ask questions there. I'm absolutely available to help you any way that I can.
That is,
That's the mission, to
it's
ease stress in the world. So
so kind and so generous. And we've got a lot of people responding. A big sigh of relief. Great pleasure to see you. Yeah, lovely. Happy to allow myself to attend. Yeah,
excellent.
it's true that sometimes we have to give ourselves permission to just stop.
I mean, for me, I think this is an important part of this self-worth journey, is to really connect with ourselves so that you can begin to notice where we are, what we're doing. And then you pull out the self-worth safari, and then you can just follow the path. And it's a co-creative, if you will, experience. You with you in a way.
Mm.
You with your body, you with these natural ways that we're designed, because the body is amazing. We are amazing beings, and the opportunity is to learn to work with ourselves, because we're not broken. We're not broken.
I'm going to write that in the chat box.
There's more right with us than is wrong with us, but we have to become familiar. And isn't that what the self-worth journey is all about, is to connecting with our essential selves?
It is. And I have to say that we've seen so many different angles of attack this week, but it all comes down to listening to yourself, listening to what's going on inside. And with your voice helping us to do that, that was even a bonus.
Well, that's what this practice is about, is tuning in,
Yeah.
tuning to ourselves. And then when we have tools like, to help us along the path, we actually have real data, if you will, to work with.
Yeah. It's a support, a form of support. Yeah.
Yes.
So we have thank you, Pamela, here from Oliver. Olivier is showing in his little window.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure.
If anyone wants to open their mic and say something, you're welcome to. Jose says, we are not broken. Absolutely. Anyone that want to add anything? I'm going to close the room in about 2 minutes. So this is your opportunity to say thank you or ask questions if you have any. Jose, big smile.
Yeah, I really want to say thank you, Pamela. It was great. And the questions of the relating body experience with the mind, it's obvious. And that's why I replicated your we are not broken. I think it's a motto for many people.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
What do we have here? I would love to show.
Thank you, Pamela. Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you. We love you.
So with that, my dear, thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording now.